Hello folks, and I hope you're all having a really good weekend. I am, well, still dealing with internet problems, so what I'm doing is taking one of my own replays, recording it, doing the actual recording, and then I'm going to go somewhere else and actually get this uploaded. When it's going to get uploaded is, well, a completely other story because the place I'm going probably doesn't have the best upload speed, but hopefully it'll be up sometime today. Anyways, I'm going to show you guys a full battle I had the other day in the Salem Witch. Yes, that's the ship that I was talking about for the Phantom Fortress event, which I said was really strong. But again, I've watched other people play it, and, well, in the hands of the right kinds of players, really strong. In some people who are not very good, maybe not so much. Anyway, so on this particular map, which is the big race map, there is a bit of a bug. There is not enough spawn points for the enemy team, and what happens is when they get a witch battle and like 6 extra ships, there isn't enough spawn points for them, and so the whatever part of the code control spawning goes, well, I don't know where to put you guys, so here you can just be right in the middle. And on big race, right in the middle means really close to the enemy team, so of course their carrier got spawned there, as long as, along with one destroyer. But the carrier was the big target, and within the first, I would say the first 2 minutes of the battle, the enemy team lost their carrier. Right. Moving on. So that was kill number 1. The next ship I'm going to worry about on the enemy team is actually their destroyer. The cruisers aren't really that much of a threat. The destroyer, however, is an issue, because if you let a destroyer get close to you in a witch, it can still kill you. Torpedoes still hurt like hell. So I put my priority on the Dursky, except somebody else does get the kill. Okay, so moving on to these enemy cruisers. Well, cruisers are the easiest things to kill, in my opinion. They are easily citadeled, they don't have the stealth, and they don't have the armor, and of course, well, cruisers are food. The only way cruisers can stand a chance against a witch is if there is enough of them in a large group, and 2, they're all actively trying to maneuver and stay out of your line of fire. Only then I think they would stand a reasonably good chance. But if they are all just kind of sailing in a nice straight line, well, then they don't really stand much of a chance because a witch is going to kill you. Now, of course, you're probably looking at this and going, holy crap, that witch is so overpowered. How does a team win against a witch? Well, you really need your team to be playing together as a team, and second, you need your battleships to really be doing damage, which means battleships stay angled against the witch, and when the opportunity presents itself, go and put armor piercing shells into the citadel, because while the witch is incredibly powerful with its incredible rate of fire, it is still a cruiser with cruiser levels of armor, which means it is still extremely vulnerable to the larger shells of a battleship. Speaking of which, you should also keep an eye out on the chat, because the chat was actually reasonably amusing in this battle. At one point in time, somebody on, I believe, my team said, protect the Salem Witch, protect the witch, and at the time when I saw that, I thought, don't you mean that the enemy team needs protection from me, not me from them? Anyhow, one of my strategies when I play with the witch is to try to fight the enemy ships in isolation, in either one-on-one or two-on-one fights, where I can use the witch's phenomenal rate of fire to quickly dispatch enemy ships. So, while that strategy works beautifully here, I'm fighting a Myogi and a Karlsruhe, and I'm very quickly able to take them both down without really taking that much damage in return, because there's just not a lot of enemy ships here. Yes, before you say anything, I know I ran into the border here. I'm sorry, Chase is a noob scrub who occasionally hits the border. Anyways. And you'll see that every single time I try to fight in isolation. Just, one-on-one, two-on-one, and fight fights that are to my advantage. But I have had, and this has only happened to me so far, I think once, I have had one battle where the enemy team got together as a team, the whole team. They all came through the southern islands on the big race map, and I was caught, sort of south by myself. and pretty much the entire enemy team came down on me, and boy was that one tense experience, because all of a sudden I had destroyers who had been covered by their cruisers and battleships, where the destroyers were coming in and making runs, and they were all coming in at the same time, and I had destroyers to my left, behind me, and there were just torpedoes coming, the cruisers were all shooting at me, and I was just taking tons and tons of fire. And they did manage to sink me that battle. That was just absolutely incredible. I still did manage to sink 6 ships in that battle, but I'm not sure if that was the Salem Witch itself being just phenomenally incredible, or whether it was just more me being able to do what I do regularly. Anyways, so back to this battle here. Enemy South Carolina, and here's the thing, this is why I was kind of saying that a battleship, generally speaking, if you're running into a witch, assuming that that witch is firing armor piercing at you, it's best to stay angled until you can get a shot on the witch, because armor piercing from a witch can still do loads of damage against a battleship. And as you can tell, I was getting 6,000-7,000 damage salvos, and almost managed to pick up. That would have been my 7th kill. Got 6 so far. Anyways, now the Wyoming. So this Wyoming, who is in the sort of one-on-one situation with me. This Wyoming, if it stayed angled and used armor piercing, I think that Wyoming could have put up a pretty good fight, but that Wyoming doesn't stay angled, and that will end up costing him. Of course, since I'm angled to the Wyoming, I'm actually not that worried about what the Wyoming can do, and instead decide to shoot the Coburg. And at 15 kilometers, and even though I was gonna lose the Coburg after the 2nd salvo, I'd already managed 2 citadels, a bunch of hits, and my actually that would be my 2nd salvo that went in, actually managed to finish off that kill. So that's kill number 7. Still not worried about the Wyoming, because it's actually running away from me. In fact, at this time, while the Wyoming is seeing me fire at something else, could have turned around and engaged. Instead, I was given to that free opportunity to sink the enemy team's cruisers without actually worrying about any incoming fire from their battleship. So this would turn into kill number 8, I believe. At this time, by this time of the battle, I'm already in probably over 200,000 damage already, with actually quite a bit more from that earlier carrier fight where the carrier wasn't being spotted. Okay, finally, the Wyoming turns around, and the Wyoming turns around and is showing me the broadside. And so you can see what will happen there. Oh yeah, and come on, don't shoot HE at a witch. No, don't bother with high explosive. Shoot armor piercing, because you're a battleship and your armor piercing will hurt. But your high explosive, sure, you'll do some damage, but I'm not really scared of it. And you can tell that in reply, my armor piercing is just doing tons of damage to this poor battleship. And yeah, armor angling plus, you know, armor piercing against the witch would have done so much more. But of course that leads me to get kill number 8. And by this time the enemy team is well, pretty much decimated. And you know, if you read the chat, that's already being there's already jokes about this witch being OP. And of course at one point, and you'll see the best part of the chat is it comes in a little bit where somebody starts to say that, oh, there we go. Somebody accuses me of being a bot. That's fantastic. I will take that compliment. And initially, when I was actually playing the game, I was like, no, I'm not a bot. I'm actually a human player. But now that I think about it, it's actually quite amusing. And yes, very bot, very, very strong bot, doing lots and lots and lots of damage to your team. And yeah, and that's pretty much it. By this point in time, actually already in excess of 250,000 damage, having already scored myself 10 kills. Now, one final thing before I wrap up, and that is addressing the other thing that you have to know for this particular event, which is the Phantom Fortress event doesn't require you to actually sink either the Witch or the Phantom Fortress. Your job is to win. And in the case of the Witch is painfully slow. And when I say painfully slow, I mean everything outruns it. I mean, heck, I think even a Langley can just barely outrun a Witch. So if you're in a faster ship like a destroyer, you might want to go for the objective. The Witch has a really hard time trying to get itself around the map. So if you see that your team has dragged the Witch away from the objective, just go for the cap, because the cap is what's going to let you win. And if you win, then the Witch loses, and that's the objective, to win, and that'll get you the awards. Anyhow, finally, the last remaining ship on the enemy team, which is Karlsruhe, is going to die a relatively painful death to me, which means I will secure kill number 11. Anyhow, I managed just over 280,000 damage, and yes, I admit I was clubbing seals with a really large club, and I apologize to all the seals that I did club in this particular battle. Hopefully you've had fun watching me play the Witch. Hopefully you've also picked up some tips on how to deal with witches when you run into them. Good luck during the rest of the Phantom Fortress event, and I'm looking forward to talking to you all again soon.